I want to bring in Yogendra Yadav. I think he's with us now, co-founder Swaraj India. And Mr. Yadav, you've been very, very vocal on what is a contentious, controversial electoral exercise that is taking place in the state of Bihar 3 months from now. We've had my colleague Shreya, who's been extensively traveling through the state, and some of the issues that I would reckon you've identified are echoing on ground. Number one, of course, now the BLOs having full right to identify and flag off on who they deem could very well be an illegal. The EC definition, and you've had the government of the day that constantly comes and says that, listen, over 80% of form submission is complete. We're going to get done very quickly.
Thanks, Preeti. And thanks for the reports that your channel has been carrying out, because it brings out the sheer arbitrariness that we had always suspected this would lead to. You know, from day one, we have been saying there are two kinds of problems with this entire exercise. Number one, in principle, this exercise is illegal and unconstitutional because it is not about revising voters list of Bihar. This is about de novo writing of voters list, following norms which have never been practiced in India. It's for the first time in 75 years of Indian democracy that every single voter is being asked to apply for being on the voters list. We are not America, and because America follows that rule, America registration has always been 1/4 less than the population due. We have always followed a different process. So the onus has been shifted on the voters for the first time in the last 75 years. And second, the presumption is that you are not a citizen. You have to bring in documents. Documents could be 2003 list, documents could be your birth proof, but the onus is now on you. You have to prove that you are a citizen. These two things have never happened. So it is not merely another revision of voters list in one state. This is changing the architecture of citizenship and electoral laws. This is disenfranchisement of the kind that no country in the world has witnessed in the 21st century. This is the late 19th century stuff, not 21st century. The second problem that we have pointed out is that even the notification as it was issued by Election Commission is on paper. In reality, nothing of that kind is happening. Election Commission says 93%, today's figure is 93% people have actually filled in their form. I would like your reporter, who's done such outstanding reporting, please ask Shreya if she has done it so far. In case she hasn't, please request her to do so. Find one village, please ask Shreya, has she gone to any one village where 93% people are willing to say, yes, someone came to my house, they gave me 2 forms, I filled up 2 forms, gave 1 form to the BLO, 1 was returned to me as a receipt, and I have attached the documents, photograph and signatures. Can she find one single village? If Shreya says so, I would agree with the Election Commission. The simple fact, as we know, is the following. Number one, in most cases, BLOs have not gone to the households. In fact, today a video has surfaced where a video is being officially instructed, "Gharon mein mat jao, apne ghar mein baith ke karo." Number two, in large number of instances, the forms are being filled by BLO, not by people concerned. I suspect even the signatures are not being done by the people. In a majority of cases, photographs are not being affixed, although they are required. And in an overwhelming majority, no documents have been attached. So even the unconstitutional exercise that the EC had begun, in reality, that has turned into a complete farce. I say with all responsibility that the figures being released by Election Commission are fake figures, fraudulent figures, because they do not reflect the number of people who have actually submitted their own forms. And this entire exercise is a blot on our democracy, and therefore this farce has to be stopped. The kind of documents the Election Commission insists, please ask your correspondent, does she find anyone below the age of 40 who has all these 11 documents? I mean, I'm sure there would be some, not all, sorry. Only one document out of these 11. How many do not possess even that? Now, the focus in your report today happens to be seemanchal, and I agree that this is utterly arbitrary, but I would submit that this is not the only arbitrariness. Targeting of Muslims and seemanchal is a very obvious part, I used to say, of the BJP. Unfortunately, is that now applying to the EC as well? Can we speak of the EC and the BJP in the same breath? But I would also request your correspondent to please spend one day only with women, because I submit the worst victim of Election Commission's arbitrary order are not Muslims, they are actually women cutting across all communities. Because women do not have matriculation certificate. I mean, the proportion of women having matriculation certificate is substantially lower in Bihar than men. And number two, because of marriage, they live in a place where their name did not figure in 2003. मायके में नाम था, ससुराल में आ गई हैं. They are being asked to produce certificates for, or at least 2003 voters list for their parents. And women are petrified. अरे मायके से हमें लाना पड़ेगा, दूसरे जिले से लाना पड़ेगा. So this exercise targets women, it targets all migrant workers, it targets poor, it targets illiterates, and it targets minorities as well.
Right. You know, what you spoke about, you know, the women voters, Mr. Yadav, that's something that Shreya did touch upon, especially where the border areas are concerned, because a lot of Nepalese women are married in Bihar, the border is porous, and most of them don't have the prerequisite documents. And I think that's something that she did document as well. But stay with me, Mr. Yadav, because you're also patched in directly to Shreya right now, who's still in Bihar, doing follow-up stories after her a fabulous report, Shreya, that you filed yesterday. But Shreya, I'm sure you heard Mr. Yadav, you know, who has been raising concerns. He elucidated some, one or two of them, where he has, you know, huge reservations whether the figure that filters in goes up by a percentage every day of those who have submitted forms. Now that figure stands over 90%. You've traveled across. Did you see that on ground? Number one, that the enrollment is the villages that you went to, and it could very well be 90% in each village. Number two, Yogendra Yadav also, you know, has made allegations, which some reports have quantified on ground, that the BLOs are now uploading forms on their own. They've been given, you know, that leeway. You just touched upon that earlier, where you yourself said that it is up to the BLOs now to feed in and decide whether somebody is an illegal or not. And that in itself is contentious. So I'm sure you heard in to what Mr. Yadav was saying. What do you like to say with your experience on the ground?
Well, you know, Preeti, and to Mr. Yogendra Yadav as well, what I will say is that the figure that the Election Commission is giving is not incorrect. And the reason I say that, please watch the report that we have filed. We've clearly said that right now the BLOs are not uploading any document, neither are they taking forms with document. It's just your name, signature and Aadhaar. So that makes the process extremely simple right now, is why we see the percentage rise, so much. This thing about getting petrified, that we haven't seen in the urban pockets. The reason so, because there is also a procedure of getting your Vanshavali, which is the fact that you stayed in the village from the Panchayat office. A lot of people are actually tending to that, or a Nivas certificate, and that's the reason we do not see a fear as say. So far as receiving, people are not getting receiving in the form of another form, but in some places we have seen people get messages on their phone that their forms have been submitted. But as I repeat, the reason we see such a huge jump in number of forms submitted is because it's a diluted process, no document, just they need to upload with the name and just check the scan code, that's it. So that is the reason we see such a huge percentage right now by the Election Commission.
Dr. Yadav, because, you know, it is contentious, because in the beginning, the entire attempt was that you file in the, you know, the documents along with the form. That was very sluggish. So now you don't have to fill in the documents. And most of the BLOs are uploading the documents on their own. Therefore, that figure that we see.
Yes, Preeti. So what we heard from Shreya and what you are saying clearly confirms that the original order of the Election Commission of 24th June and the guidelines along with that are not being followed, at least in the following respect. Number one, as Shreya confirms, receipt is not being given to the voters. That's a very serious thing, because tomorrow I give my form to someone, I get no receipt, and the BLO says, no, you never submitted it. That's over. My voter identity is over. My rights are over. This was the basic safety feature of the guidelines, which have not been followed. And it's not just Shreya. I mean, go to any village in Bihar. Practically no one has got this receipt back, which was the only safeguard available with the voter. Number two,
but
yes,
Mr. Yadav,
documents
Shreya
are
says
not being
some of
submitted.
them are receiving
Election
a
Commission would
message
say, well, we have
which says your form is submitted.
a message, but that's a SMS is not that legal document which Election Commission had promised in its own guidelines. I'm just going by Election Commission's own guidelines, which have not been revised. Not a single word in that guideline has been revised so far. When the Reserve Bank of India was making amendments to Notebandi, at least they were honest and they were making amendments every single day. All these are press release and oral orders. I mean, what kind of a legal exercise is this? Where the 24th June order stays exactly as it was, not a word has been changed, and in practice everything has been changed. So, number two, if they are getting SMS, some of them are getting messages, but the simple fact remains that most of them, number one, almost no one is getting a proper formal written receipt. Number two, most of them are getting no receipt whatsoever. That's one established. Number two, on documents, that most things are being filed without documents. The Election Commission would say, yes, but we've already permitted. My question is, where have you permitted? How the rules have not yet been changed. And even more important question is, I submit my application without documents because I read your newspaper advertisement. And then after 1st August, you say, well, we did not receive any documents from you. We have put your name on the draft electoral rolls, but because there are no documents, we have no option but to reject it. What option do I have?
Okay.
That's number two. Number three, we also heard that photographs are not being put on the forms. The photograph is critical, Priti, for the following reason: that if I do not need a photograph, if I am a BLO, and if I am told no need for any document, no need for a photograph, in that case, Priti, why do I ever need to go to you? I can just sit. I'm a BLO. I have a register of the entire village in front of me. What would I do? Would I go to your house, or would I just sit and fill it on my own? That's exactly what is being done. It's not hypothetical. Video journalists, newspapers, everyone is reporting that घर में बैठ के BLO भर रहे हैं. This kind of a fraudulent exercise is happening in front of the entire country.
Allow me to bring in Shreya for one quick final time back into this conversation, Yadavji, because there are serious reservations that are being right now voiced where the credibility of the Election Commission is concerned. And I would reckon one thing that needs to be done today is that a proper press conference needs to happen by the Election Commission, which allays all fears which are surrounding the ongoing process. Especially, a lot is being derived out of source-based information, and that is not how the EC should function. But Shreya, you heard in with what Mr. Yadav was concerned. What do you infer if you correlate what he has to say to what you experience on ground?
I completely do agree, Preeti, that the sanitization of the entire process of submitting the form is something that definitely needs to be questioned. The reason so that, the uploading of these forms were initially a OTP-based mobile app, which is linked to the BLO's mobile. However, there are cases we've seen that BLOs are just taking the form. The BLO supervisor has prepared a separate space where the form uploading is going on. Have those processes in these distinct rural villages been sanitized? Can it be assured that there will be no problem in the future for voters where there have been fear of disenfranchisement? That is, as you correctly say, for the Election Commission to answer. But these are genuine questions that actually the Election Commission must come forth and answer.
I just want to bring in Mr. Yadav for one final time before we let him go, because Mr. Yadav, the fact is with this entire exercise, it's been challenged in court. There are various petitions. We'll know soon on what the court has to say. But it has far-reaching implication as well, other than just the exercise, because the narrative now that is being built around it is polarizing and divisive.
Exactly, and that's the danger here, as you rightly pointed out. This is not just about Bihar. The order clearly says that this is an all India order. Bihar happens to be the first state where it is implemented. So even if we forget, let's imagine we forget all the practical problems, let's forget the fraudulence that's taking place right now, let's forget the impossible deadlines. And incidentally, these BLOs are not the villains of the piece. Poor fellows have been ordered to do something which is impossible. So they are doing what best they can do. I don't blame the BLOs one bit. It's the original order which is fraudulent. But even if all this was to be overlooked, let us say it is carried out properly by giving 1 year or so on. But even then, these two things, as I said, shifting the onus onto the voter,
Right.
and number two, changing the presumption of your citizenship into non-citizenship, these are things which are unconstitutional, need
Right.
to be challenged. Unfortunately, in Bihar, and I suspect then in Bengal and Assam, it would be polarized around the Muslim question, which it is not. It is disenfranchisement of all disadvantaged sectors of India, which is why people like me are opposing it.
All right, we're going to let it be there because one thing that I would reckon that one must constantly underline is the immediate need of a press conference by the Election Commission of India to allay fears, number one, to answer all questions. I don't think we can really rely on source-based information coming in from the EC. That's just not on. And the second, of course, all eyes on the court. They're going to be hearing the challenge to this very contentious exercise. Appreciate you taking the time out, Mr. Yadav. Thank you for joining us.